Well, making headlines in the international arena, anti-government protests in Thailand has intensified, and obviously there was violence reported yesterday. Thai police had to use tear gas at protesters in front of Government House in a push to topple Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra from power. Now, these Thai protesters are calling for Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra to step down and to hand over power. Some protesters were injured in the battle between police and protesters who are trying to make their way to the Prime Minister's office behind the heavy security. Fellow protesters carried them away to safety and for treatment. The protester has set Sunday as Victory Day to oust the government, but failed to achieve their goal of seizing the Prime Minister's office at Government House or occupying state buildings despite intense clashes with riot police. Police mostly held their lines, firing repeated rounds of tear gas and using water cannons against 30,000 protesters, many of whom hurled rocks and petrol bombs. Yingluck Shinawatra was forced to flee a police compound to an undisclosed location. The violence is the latest dramatic turn in a conflict pitting Bangkok's urban middle class and royalist elite against the mostly poor, rural supporters of Yingluck and her brother Thaksin Shinawatra, a populist former Prime Minister ousted in a 2006 military coup. Well, anti-government protests are not only happening in Thailand, it is also very much present in the Ukraine. Thousands of pro-EU demonstrators continued to rally in central Kiev yesterday as opposition leaders urged unity between protesters demanding for the resignation of Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych.
Protesters calling for a general strike blockaded the main government building as demonstrations against Viktor Yanukovych's decision to abandon an EU integration pact continued. Opposition party leaders spoke to the thousands of gathered protesters and called on them to stand together. Demonstrations on Saturday and Sunday, which saw violent clashes with the police, drew as many as 350,000 people, the biggest public rally in the ex-Soviet state since the Orange Revolution against sleaze and electoral fraud 9 years ago. Meanwhile, the crackdown on the Ukrainian protests have drawn international condemnation.
We are following the developments in Ukraine with great concern. I encourage all parties to refrain from violence. We expect our partners to live up to basic democratic principles, respect the rule of law.
The violence by government authorities against peaceful demonstrators in Kiev on Saturday morning was unacceptable. We urge Ukraine's leaders to respect their people's right to freedom of expression and assembly. These are fundamental to a healthy democracy. Violence and intimidation should have no place in today's Ukraine. We continue to support the aspirations of the Ukrainian people to achieve a prosperous European democracy.
I appeal to all parties to act with restraint, avoid any further violence, and to uphold the democratic principles of freedom of expression and peaceful assembly. I believe that the meaningful dialogue between all concerned should be encouraged in the pursuit of a prosperous future for Ukraine.
Well, in a very interesting and intriguing turn of events in the technology sector, Amazon.com is testing a system to deliver packages using drones. Now, guided by a GPS system, the drones are expected to carry packages weighing up to 5 pounds and travel within a 10-mile radius. CEO Jeff Bezos revealed the company's new strategy over the weekend. The drones, which would pick up items from Amazon's distribution centers and fly them to customers' homes, probably won't be put into use for 4 or 5 years, according to Bezos. The e-retailing giant is calling the new program Amazon Prime Air. Interesting indeed. Well, moving on to sports news now. Construction workers returned to work at the Arena Corinthians construction site yesterday, 5 days after two of their colleagues were killed in a deadly accident when a massive crane came toppling down last Wednesday.
The Sao Paulo Stadium, formerly called Arena Corinthians, is slated to host the opening match of the 2014 World Cup on the 12th of June. Work was immediately halted at site following the crane collapse. The industrial conglomerate building the stadium said work had resumed here. Some 1,350 workers picked up where they left off coating floors and walls, installing electric and hydraulic equipment and placing seats in the stands. However, for the time being, no cranes like the one that fell will be used. Before the accident, workers were scrambling to meet a December deadline set by FIFA, but it is now thought that the stadium will not be complete until February.
Well, that brings to an end Prime Time Sunrise. Thank you very much for joining us. You can follow us on www.newsfirst.lk, on Twitter, on YouTube and on Facebook to find out what's happening in the world around you. I'm Maina Bongzil. We leave you today with a look at the weather forecast. Have yourself a great day.
Hotline 0114-896-896. www.newsfirst.lk. Feedback at newsfirst.lk.